This is A's Cast Live, your comprehensive look at the Oakland Athletics.
And the pitch is swung on, hit the right field, hit deep. Whitefield going back at the track, over his head, and over the wall. Do you believe that?
And 29 other MLB clubs.
Ramirez with a drive to deep right, away back, goal!
Hey, hits a bomb out there by the Rocks. And boy, oh boy, this third inning is now showtime.
It is a Judgian blast. All rise. Here comes the judge.
Join us as we take you inside the baseball universe, from humidors to spin rates to game-changing moments. We have you covered. Spend your afternoon with us next from the town, only on A's Cast Live. Here's Chris Townsend.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to A's Cast Live. I know it's Wednesday. We've been off for a couple days, just had some meetings. It's how business works, but we are back, and we will be back on Friday. We got a great show for you today, a lot to talk about, as we promised. What is going on with coaching in Major League Baseball? It is pretty scary. Also, 40-40. We remember what a magical number 40-40 was. Why? Because Jose Canseco, my guy, Jose, was the – oh, Cody, we lost the bat. We lost the bat.
I was waiting for that to happen eventually when we used Jose.
You know what I did? I need to glue this thing. That's the thing with these bobbleheads, when they give you accessories to go with the bobblehead. Like the other day, we were in the office, and I'm like, my Sean Doolittle doesn't work anymore. Neither does my Stephen Vogt. But Jose Canseco was the first guy to go 40-40. And it was a big deal. It was a huge deal in baseball because we had never seen it before. We had never seen somebody with truly the great power with the great speed and a man do it that size. Now, obviously, we know why he was that size, but whatever. It was amazing to watch. Jose was one of my favorite players. And when I got an opportunity, it was years ago in Concord. Some of our great A's fans were there. It was that documentary about him being blackballed. I don't remember. You could look up what the documentary is, Cody, but I hosted it with the director and the producer and the people who financed it. We were at, I can't remember, the movie theater in Concord, and I got to hang with Jose for like hours, and it was pretty cool because I grew up and I was a huge Jose Canseco fan, like so many of you. He was awesome. It was 40-40, power, speed. You know, a guy like Willie Mays would say, well, if I knew they'd make this big a deal of it, I would have done it all the time. Okay, well, you didn't. Jose Canseco did it. And Jose Canseco, what was different about Jose's 40-40 is that Jose Canseco did it in a year where the team won, where it mattered, where it helped. You look at the other 40s that would then come along. Bonds finally did it. Bonds did it in a year, I want to say, the Giants either finished dead last or second to last. They were a terrible team. Great achievement, but that was just Barry going to do it, and he had the unbelievable talent. Truly one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time. But he did it in a season that it didn't matter. You know, other guys would go on to do it. Alfonso Soriano. How many guys? A-Rod did it, but A-Rod did it in a losing season. Soriano, I don't remember if the Cubs were winning or not. My guess would be the Cubs weren't winning when he did it.
Well, first of all, he wasn't even a Cub. He was a Washington National. Where were you?
And they for sure weren't doing it.
Yeah, it was in 06. A-Rod did it in 98. Bonds did it in 96. Now, we could play them later, but I have highlights from each one of those when they got to the 40-40 club. But yeah, Soriano was a National. Remember that? I think it was 1 year he was a National. A-Rod obviously was a Mariner, and Bonds was a Giant. But yeah, I think that 97 was year the Giants had that run with the Brian Johnson home run. So yeah, I don't think they were very good in 96. And then obviously what Jose did was incredible in a year where the A's went to the World Series. Documentary, The Truth Hurts is what it was called.
By the way, who we have on the show today?
We have the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, Josh Rawitch, at 1:30, and the great Vince Cotroneo at 2:30. So we've had
Is it Rawitch or Rawitch?
I thought it was Rawitch, but
Rawitch?
Yeah, I'll double check. But I remember I heard him on with Farron in the Duke last week.
Well, this is interesting times because First of all, we're going to talk about how cool his job is. Pretty incredible, right? To run the Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll talk about this class. Great that Fred McGriff's going in. Good for Scott Rowland. I have no problem with Scott Rowland going in. And just how do they start to prepare for that last weekend in July? And it was sad that we didn't have that, because of COVID. But the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, I've been to one back in 1999. I mentioned plenty of times here on the program when George Brett, Nolan Ryan, and Robin Yount. How about that class? And the Veterans Committee was Orlando Cepeda. I mean, it was incredible. So I highly recommend, if you can ever get to the Baseball Hall of Fame, and if you can ever get to the ceremony in late July, it's absolutely magical. And then we're going to have to ask him, in our world, when you hear Baseball Writers Association, I got to tell you, we kind of look around and we go, where are all these writers? Where have they gone? I've been doing this a long time now, folks. The Baseball Writers Association is completely different. And a lot of these people, if you understand the rule, 10 years, they finally get to vote, it ends up being a lot of columnists. It's not all hardcore beat writers who are in the clubhouse every single day. A lot of it is fringe columnists who pop in and pop out. Well, most of them are gone. The newspaper business has been dismantled. It's on life support. So when you say you have all these writers who are voting, who are these people? Who are they? I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, when you look at the Bay Area and you find out there's guys have been retired for a while now who I believe still have a vote. So I'm wondering if they're looking into we have to modernize. Years ago, yes, games were on radio, but there weren't very many games on TV. I know for a younger generation, hard for you to believe. But when I got into this business and I started working at KMBR, I think the Giants only had about 92 games on television. The A's, Cody, I think only had like 36. Now every game's on TV. But back then, it was the writers. It was newspapers. That's how you learned about the team. That's how you promoted the team. That's where the box scores were. Everything was about the newspaper. And then the columnists gave you their opinions. The beat writers gave you the game story. Well, all that's been dismantled. So now, where are they going to go? Like our guy, Eno Saris, our national baseball columnist who works for The Athletic. It's an online publication. He's now voting for the Hall of Fame. He's never worked for a newspaper. So it's like, do we need to modernize who's voting here? And as I believe I did it, not last Friday because we were at Plank. Or maybe, was this at Plank when I brought up about the committees? Or was that last Wednesday?
That was our show last Wednesday. We talked about that.
Okay, last Wednesday, if you didn't tune in, these different committees over the years, because when the first Hall of Fame classes came in, they were voted on by committees. It wasn't by writers. So literally committees have elected far more people into the Baseball Hall of Fame than the writers. So do we need to start looking at the process and modernizing the process? I'd take a vote. I'd gladly, and let me tell you something, I would take it so serious, and no, I would never care. Barry Bonds was the biggest ass to me ever. He's getting my vote. I didn't care if we got along, if you big league me, that would not matter to me. I'm going to vote for who deserves to have a plaque in that room. Who's the greatest of the greats? I would never, ever let my personal opinion taint my vote. Not at all. I'd love to have a vote. And boy, would I take it seriously. So we'll talk to the man that runs the Baseball Hall of Fame and also Vince Cotroneo. I want to start today on something that we normally don't start on. And that's ballpark. Because I actually had, if you didn't listen to the program on Friday, we were at Plank and we were having a celebration, getting ready for the start of the season, Spirit Week, fee-free Friday, was it, Cody?
Yeah, and remember, all single game tickets are now on sale. So athletics.com/tickets. But yeah, it's fee-free Friday. Try saying that really fast 5 times.
Well, you did, and you kept blurring fee and free together.
Yeah, fee-free Friday. No longer a thing, but that was what it was on Friday.
Get your tickets right now. Great deals. There's no question. All right. So I went back into this area at Plank where we had a bunch of season ticket holders and some people that schmoozing with the organization. And I had a conversation with somebody who really is in the know. Not somebody who's media, not somebody who's out in front of the media. Someone who's in the background who knows exactly what's happening and where we're at. And a lot has to do with politics, but a lot has to do with building. A lot has getting the project done. And I talked to someone who was very credible and really enlightened me, made me feel better. Like, because I've been on the, there's all this, the A's are going to Vegas to meet, and what's going on in Oakland, all this guy, because there's a lot in the dark, which probably is a good thing because deals will get done behind closed doors than if they're out in front negotiating against each other in front of all of us. That is something that I know for me personally in business, I rather handle as a caller once said to me on the postgame show, town business will take care of town business. Well, town business is better done behind closed doors, like the way I like to do business, than out in front of everybody else. So this gave me a good feeling having this conversation about, listen, the new mayor, Shang Tao, she wants this to happen. Port wants it to happen. People want this to happen. The county's really out of it. It was a great conversation that made me think, yeah, this really has a good chance of happening. Really does. So that made me feel good. And what was laughable, and it just goes to show you how hard these things are, is, let's face it, baseball's in a pickle. Baseball wants to expand. Dave Stewart is ready to go with his Nashville Stars. I know this for a fact. He's said it on this show. I have spent hours with him when I'm filling in for Brody on NBC Sports California doing A's pre- and post-game live. I've spent hours with Stu talking about this. And yes, it is pretty cool to hang out with Dave Stewart. Just saying. You're like a little kid going, Dave Stewart. But his team's ready to go. The minute the commissioner feels like, man, we can expand, Dave Stewart's group's ready to go. An all minority-owned baseball team. It's going to be incredible. We'll do anything we can to help Stu out, the A's legend. I think it's going to be great for the game of baseball, great for Stu, as he's going to own the team. It's going to be awesome. But we can't have that happen until Oakland and Tampa are set. And Tampa came out with, I couldn't believe it. It's like, is nobody following what's going on here? Really? Tampa came out with this thing, folks. We've got renderings. We've got a happy mayor. We've got the Tropicana site. I've been there. It sucks, but the site's not bad. St. Petersburg. I was actually pleasantly surprised with St. Petersburg, Florida. It's actually a nice little town right there on the water, had great restaurants and bars, great old school hotel that's haunted. I didn't see any ghosts, but they have this plan. They have a plan. And everybody got excited. News conference and interviews and all this kind of stuff. But yet, when you've been in the trenches like we have been, you look at what they're doing and you're going, you've got no agreement. City council's never even seen this. All you have is renderings and an excited mayor. That's all you got. And baseball people, I tell you this all the time. Baseball people don't understand business. Writers, broadcasters, for the most part, don't understand business. Not their fault. They just really haven't done it. So if you just followed our model and you listen to what they have in Tampa for this new site, not in Tampa Bay, in St. Petersburg, when everybody thinks it should be in Tampa because that's where all the people are. That's where you have the hockey team and the NFL team super successful. Everybody feels if the Rays were over there across the bridge, they would be super successful. But they have this long lease in St. Petersburg stuck, and they're going to stay here. And they're going to redevelop this whole area where the Trop is. But you just start looking at it, and I'm looking at our notes. A development agreement is tentatively scheduled. We talk about all the time. We don't have a development agreement. They're talking about a development agreement tentatively scheduled to be presented. It's not even, they don't even have it on paper yet, to be presented to the St. Petersburg City Council for approval in September or October. How many times have we heard, wait till November, wait till this date, wait till that date, wait till they're going to see it, wait till they're going to vote on. We've been doing this for years. Years. And they got all excited about this. And people in baseball, like all of a sudden, they're bringing them on Sirius XM and MLB Network's talking about it. Like, you people got no clue how far behind you are. You think where we are, we're past this stage. People have seen agreements. They've at least seen it. We've had port votes. We've had all these obstacles. We've had Dave Cavill going to DC, Sacramento, all the things that you got to do. You got to talk to the Save the Bay people. You got to talk to everybody. You've got so many hurdles to go over. They're just like getting started, and people are like excited. And you just start to wonder, all right, baseball, where are you at? Our friend Rod Manfred, the commissioner, he has talked such a big game. And I don't want to disparage the commish, but it's like, you've talked this big game about, we got to get things situated. Oh, we're running out of time. Oh, we're running out of time. I mean, how many times can you throw that threat out? It's like the parent that constantly says, don't do that. Cody, don't do that. Cody, if you do that, you're going to go to bed. Cody, if you do that, you're going to be on restriction. Cody, if you do that, we're going to take that toy away. Cody, if and you keep doing it and you never pay off the threat. It's the worst parenting ever. All of us parents know that is the worst parenting. And if you're a parent and you see another parent doing that and they never pay off the threats, it drives you nuts. If I had an audience of parents in front of me right now, right? If this was like Oprah and I had a bunch of parents, everybody be shaking. Yep, he's right. You know what I mean, parents out there. If you don't pay off your threats, the kids know it. They know it. And they won't stop, and they'll keep doing whatever they're doing. So you've had this commissioner out there threatening everybody. And now does anybody Cody, do you take the threat serious now?
No, because we've seen it's not getting anywhere. And yeah, Tampa's excited. I actually found, I could play it for you. I found the audio earlier. The Rays radio network, our friend Neil Solans actually talked to the president of the Tampa Bay Rays, Brian Auld. Here's what he had to say about the renderings and ballpark and everything going on in Tampa, St. Petersburg.
I'm really looking forward to, for the first time since the RFP was issued, being able to sit down with the mayor and talk about how he wants this to go forward, where we're going to go, how we're going to get there, and in what order. Because there's arguments to be made for any number of steps along the way. We know we need a financing plan for the ballpark. We know we need a city council approval of a development agreement. We know we're going to need some community support. And so each of those steps can be taken, and I think we work on them all at the same time. But what I think you saw today was overwhelming community support for a really great vision for this city and this baseball club, and that's exciting.
We're going to sit down with the mayor and kind of see how the direction we want to go. What? They're like at the starting line. Like there's this long race you got to run. And they're lining up at the starting line. They're stretching, right? They've put the tape out. There's the guy with the gun, and everybody's kind of stretching, getting ready. You're hydrating. Wow, we're in for this race, right? They haven't even started. We're excited to sit down with the mayor and see what kind of direction the mayor's excited. Everybody's excited. Oh, let me tell you something. once the negotiating starts, not everybody's so excited anymore. Now, how are we going to pay for this? Who's paying what? How are you paying? How are we doing this? Oh my God, there's that thing called infrastructure. Huh. Because, you build these things, you got to change the land around them, right? So it's got to fit. But the land is just not for the actual ballpark. The land is for the people and the city. Streets, off-ramps, sidewalks, all that kind of stuff, which is the responsibility of the city. City infrastructure. That's what they're responsible for, infrastructure. So you start talking about all that kind of stuff. But we're happy. We're happy, Cody, because they're going to sit down with the mayor and can't wait to hear how the mayor wants to move forward. I mean, they're so far behind. They are so far behind. It's unreal. So, once again, I had a great conversation at Plank, gave me new optimism. Because I know people watch this show, then they go to Twitter, and then they go, hey, Brody, hey, they start feeling, Townsend was saying this, and next thing you know, I got, Casey Pratt, hey, Casey, Townsend saying, next thing you know, everybody's texting me, you got something? And I love those guys. They've done a great, we have been very lucky with Casey Pratt and Brody Brazil and their reporting, and they're longtime A's fans. They love this. They live this just like we do. And we, a lot of times, let them do the reporting. Let them do it. It's not our job. But every once in a while, I like to throw some stuff out because, yes, I hear stuff. So you don't need to be going to other. I know what I know. And I don't need to go to anybody else. And you don't need to go to Twitter and be asking it. I'm just telling you. If I have a conversation and I'm pessimistic as hell, would you say I'm pessimistic as hell at this point, Cody?
Yes, very much so.
Because the difference between me, see how much time we got. The difference between me and everybody else out there, I've lived this already. Look me in the face. I've lived this already. I worked for the Oakland Raiders. I was the last of the Mohicans. Everybody split. I was the last guy. I was the last guy still employed by the Raiders. I was the last guy that was still doing shows on the Raiders. I was still doing the broadcast. I was still doing the talk show. I was the last man standing. I was on the last Raiders flight ever as the Oakland Raiders. Their last flight ever was from Denver to Oakland. Lost to the Broncos, last game of the season, flew back. After that, no longer Oakland Raiders. They were the Las Vegas Raiders. I was on the last freaking flight. I've lived this. I've lived city councils, counties, all this kind of stuff. So, yes, I am a little pessimistic. And sometimes I have a hard time believing that things will get done. But if I come on the air on my show and I tell you I have a conversation with somebody that makes me feel a lot better. Just know I just wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that just to butter you up. I don't want to do stuff out. That's why it's one of the reasons why I don't do stuff on the show, because it's all fluff, right? Oh, I'm gonna interview the mayor. What's the mayor gonna say? You think the mayor's gonna come on and go and tell you her cards and she's got her poker hand here? Let me show you my poker hand. She's not gonna do that. I want to know, for me, I want to know what's going on the inside. That's what I want to know. I don't want outside fluff. I want the inside. I want to know the negotiations. That's what I want to know. And I'm just going to tell you the conversation that I had at Plank on Friday made me feel a heck of a lot better. Really did. We're still a long way to go, but you need it going in a positive direction. Then on the flip side, I'm looking at what's going on in Tampa. I mean, they're at the start. They're not even close. It's incredible how far off they are. And you hear the excitement? That was us years ago. They're light years behind us. And what does Major League Baseball do? Maybe they are doing stuff behind. If they are doing stuff behind closed doors, can you say it's really all that effective?
I'd say no, because nothing's really getting done. So there you go.
Well, things are getting done. It's just so slow. It's like, Tampa's back to square one. Remember they were going, half their games are in Montreal, half their games are in St. Pierre. I mean, they are so far behind. It is unreal. But more importantly, let's talk about a subject but once again, I want to just throw that out there today for you A's fans, make you feel a little better. Doesn't mean anything long term, but sometimes we need a little pick-me-up. There you go. Coming up next, we'll talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame, the crime dog, Scott Rowland, and the museum. Next, right here on A's Cast Live.
It's that time of the year. Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2023 season. Secure your tickets for some of the biggest matchups, fireworks, drone shows, giveaways, and more. From opening weekend against the Angels to the 50th reunion of the 1973 World Series team, to unique giveaways like Pit Viper glasses. There is so much happening at the ballpark this season. Don't miss out on other homestands as we take on the Giants, Padres, Yankees, Cubs, and Braves. Visit athletics.com/tickets to get yours now. That's athletics.com/tickets.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrie locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and Gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
A's GM David Force stopped by A's Cast Live to talk about Shintaro Fujinami.
Yeah, you don't do a whole lot of press conferences. What do you mean, as we're just going to call him Fuji, as you get your big right-hander, really like a small forward? I didn't realize he was this tall.
He's a big dude. Yeah, even when Billy walks in and says, damn, he's big, you know that he's a big guy. So it's been fun getting to know him over the last few days and spending some time with him. But I mentioned earlier, our guys in Asia did a great job with scouting, and it was great to be able to bring this one in.
Yeah, I when I learned about the signing, we were actually down in Arizona at the time at Fantasy Camp and started looking him up and trying to remember him from the World Baseball Classic. He was like a $175, $180 in these, and then you now look at him, he's put on weight.
Yeah.
He's filled out. Just talk about what you've seen, especially we've heard the last 3 months about velocity in the split finger.
Yeah, I mean, you think about a guy who's been in the big leagues for 10 years over there, and you don't think about a guy who's still really developing, but he was in the big leagues at 18 years old. So he's really, matured over his career, obviously went through some difficulties in 16, 17 with command. He even spent some time in the minors the past couple of years, but we really did a good job following him through the minor leagues, staying on him, and his last month and a half in Japan, he made a couple starts in August where he dominated, and we watched a lot of video, talked a lot about him leading into the off season, and then really just stayed on this deal until we got it done.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And RingCentral's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. RingCentral. Message, video, phone, together.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
Unlock offers and receive exclusive in-game features by downloading the MLB Ballpark app for iPhone and Android today. Plus, get the latest information on game times, schedules, and more.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, we're going to be heading to Cooperstown, New York. You know the best way, and Josh Rawitch is going to join us. He is the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. As Cody, I am now getting feedback from our tablet. My fault. How do I stop that, Cody?
I muted it on our end, but you might have to turn the volume down on that iPad somehow.
I know it's still coming up, even though I turned it down.
Is there a mute button on that iPad? Like on the actual screen, like for the video stream that's coming through?
No.
Oh.
We'll just get out of it. How about that?
All right, Josh is here as well, so I'm going to add him to the stream for us.
Beautiful. Bring him on. Josh, how are you?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Hold on. Just having a technical difficulty.
iPad problems. I know the deal. It's all good.
As technology trying to figure it out. We got these fancy iPads that are not working. I explain. I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame a few times. I'm very fortunate that my grandfather who played Major League Baseball, he was the MVP in 47. You guys got a couple of his things there, and I've been down to the bowels and just seen just a little bit of what you guys have there. I try and explain to people who are from the Bay Area, I'm like, Cooperstown's like a little mini Lake Tahoe. The lake's beautiful. The town's around the lake. This time of the year, I know you've gotten a lot of snow, but there's just something special, just not the museum, about the town that makes the whole experience just magical.
Yeah, I mean, and what's funny is I tell people all the time that I'm not sure there's another place in America like it. So I've never heard anybody compare it to Tahoe, but I've been to Tahoe and I can see that. I mean, it is in fact, in my mind, way more than the Baseball Hall of Fame. That's obviously what we're known for, and certainly that's the reason I'm talking to you guys. But there is so many cool things about the Main Street, about life on the lake, and about just small town America. I mean, it is the quintessential American village. And frankly, if you've got any listeners out there who have not visited, I just can't tell. People put it on their bucket list, and then when they finally come do it, they're blown away by how it exceeds their expectations. It's that cool.
And it doesn't matter. Yeah, I mean, I did the ceremony in '99 with Brett, Ryan, and Yount and Cepeda. So you can go at that time of the year, or you go in the fall when the leaves are changing. I mean, it's just breathtaking whenever you get there. And I'm so happy for this class this year. You know, Fred McGriff is a guy that, I've been doing this a long time, but I was a fan first as a kid growing up when Fred McGriff was in Toronto. I was in high school and then throughout college. And then early in my career was the end of his career. So I got to see him as a fan and I got to see him doing this for a living. And I'm so happy because he's such a great individual. He's a great guy. He's you talk to all the people said he was so good for our game. When Fred McGriff got in, how'd that make you feel?
Well, it was really cool and for a number of reasons. One, I mean, you don't see a whole lot of people get to that point of the era committee process and get a 16 out of 16 votes. That's just very rare. I think that the reason why often they're there is that there might be some disagreements on whether people feel like they belong in the Hall of Fame. And so obviously you still have to reach that 75% threshold. But I thought it was really, really cool that we had somebody who was unanimous. And it certainly happened before, a lot of times with managers or those who are just getting on there for the first time. But I also, on a personal note, I was fortunate enough to work with him in 2003 with the Dodgers. And he was going to LA to hit number 500. I was going to be there for it. I had never seen anybody hit 500, so I was really excited. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. He wound up getting hurt, and I think he needed 21 homers, and he got like 12 or whatever it was. But I just remember we would go to him because he was this guy on the chase for 500. We'd go to him all the time for requests, and I can picture his face. Every time I would go to him, he'd give me like a very quizzical look, like, what do you need? And then he'd break into this huge grin. And I just remember he had this huge grin, and he did everything very, as you said, he was a professional. Everybody in the game wanted to see him get in. He's just a great human, and he had an unbelievable baseball career. And I was really, really happy for him when he crossed that threshold.
And also Scott Rowland, terrific player, the defender, the bat. Obviously, the way we now look at baseball more than ever with analytics kind of changed the way we look at players. And very happy for Scott because, when you go through this process, you start to realize certain positions haven't got as much love as other positions. And one of those positions is third base.
Yeah, there's no doubt. There seem to be less third basemen for whatever reason. I mean, I think people have their theories, but I do think that whether it's modern analytics or even, I mean, you look back at some of take somebody like Ozzie Smith or others who have gotten in maybe because they were either defensive players or two-way players. I don't think it's unheard of that a guy's defense should help him get over the hump, but I think because he wasn't Mike Schmidt necessarily offensively, it took him longer to get to that point. But it's been pretty amazing to watch, even before I got to the Hall of Fame, have him go from whatever it was, 10 or so % of the vote to 75 in 6 years is really cool. And I think it shows you what this process is. I think the writers take it very seriously. Fans strong opinions on every argument. It is amazing. Every day in fact, I got one yesterday that you guys can appreciate. I got an email, an actual handwritten letter about Gene Tennis. And if I look at Gene Tennis, I would realize, and and this person was so adamant about why Gene Tennis belonged in the Hall of Fame. And our job is not to have an opinion one way or another. It's to set up a process and let others vote. And then we honor those who cross that 75% threshold.
Well, I want to get into it with you about how the presentation has become so spectacular. It's like everything else in life. Like, we remember the NFL draft. You picked up the paper and you found out who the team drafted. And now it's this television production. Cities are vying for it. I mean, everything's changed. I think what the MLB Network does with this whole process and having Brian Kinney and MLB Now there for 3 days, I thought it was phenomenal. And of course, your interview. But back to the process. I think for us broadcasters, we think about, and especially when I got into this business in the late 90s, there were still a tremendous amount of baseball writers. There were still a lot of calmness. Papers were still thriving, but they were just starting to be in trouble. And now we know where the newspaper business is, and it's sad. I was always a newspaper guy. I wanted to go out and pick it up in the morning and read the sports page, but just it's sad that we're not there anymore. And so many of the great writers have left us or they've retired. A lot, the way the newspapers started gobbling each other up, so many lost their jobs. Just the baseball writer and who the baseball writer is has completely changed. We now have writers voting who have never written for a newspaper. They've only been online. Have you thought about, just because the way the job of the newspapers has changed and the writers have changed, have you thought about changing the process? Because that's one thing you guys do control. I try and tell people all the time, you're independent of Major League Baseball. Yeah. You guys run your show. Have you thought about, broadcasters? I mean, to think that Bob Costas doesn't have a vote or Vin Scully never had a vote. Have you ever thought about changing the process to be more than just writers? Because as we know, committees have elected more guys into the Hall of Fame than actually the writers.
Well, yeah, I mean, we think all the time. I mean, honestly, all the time we're having debates internally here about what is the best possible process. And I think to this point, we have not felt that the baseball writers aren't the best process for that first run, for that first 10 years. As you know, it used to be 15 years, and it used to be that .com people weren't part of the BBWAA. But I think as that entity continues to evolve, and welcome in other people who aren't dyed-in-the-wool newspaper writers. And I should start by saying my father was a dyed-in-the-wool newspaper writer and eventually an editor, and my mom taught journalism forever. So I mean, I come from that. I think that group does an incredible job of really analyzing what's out there. Does that mean that broadcasters would do a less good job? Not necessarily. But we have quite often broadcasters who end up on the era committee who will sit in that room of 16 and be part of it. I can remember Jaime Harin just sat in that room last year, and any number of others over the years who are considered part of our historian group. So up to this point, we have not really honestly entertained the idea that the BBWAA wouldn't do what they've done, but that doesn't mean that we'll never consider other people's thoughts or ideas, proposals. I mean, for every positive argument you have about one group, you have the pushback on the other side. And the thing we always hear about broadcasters is that they're too close to it. Yes, they see a lot of games, but they're biased. They can't look at this the way a journalist would look at it from an unbiased perspective. And I'm not saying that's true or false. I just know that every time someone says, why don't the broadcasters get a vote? The argument I hear on the opposite side is, well, because they're fans, and fans should be somebody who doesn't have a vested interest. And how could Vin Scully vote against a Dodger? I think there's probably some truth to that. I knew Vin very, very well, and I can't imagine he would have done a whole lot of, I don't think that guy belongs in there. I'm not going to put him in. So I don't know. It's a great question without a real easy answer, because I think for every argument on one side, you get the one on the other. But we think right now the system works pretty well with two systems, two different avenues to get in, the BBWAA and the era committees.
There was an interesting article recently in the USA Today, and it's coming out again. It's being reprinted in Sports Weekly, their monthly edition, about the steroid era maybe getting away from the Baseball Hall of Fame. I know there's going to be the suspicion of certain guys, Veterans Committee. You're still going to have some guys on the list that have tested positive before, but do you feel that we're getting closer to getting away from that cloud and it's blowing away from Cooperstown?
I mean, I guess it depends on how you. I mean, if you're only looking at it strictly from an election standpoint, I mean, certainly, I think that period of time where testing wasn't in place, or where you saw a lot of the names that are most commonly cited as tied to that era, a lot of those people are in fact coming off of the BBWAA ballot. But every 3 years, we're going to be looking at the 1980 and forward group. So I think a lot of names who either have suspicions or who have tested positive, or for whatever other reason, I think they're going to continue every few years to get looked at, as they should, because I do think it's important that we continue to look at everybody who's eligible in MLB's eyes. But I think the thing that most fans probably don't realize, and I know you do because you've been here, but I mean, this isn't just a single hallway with plaques. I mean, we're talking about a 3-story museum here that actually has an entire case on the PED era and talks all about what that meant to baseball. And we've got interactives where people can weigh in with their opinions on whether they feel that's okay and was just part of the game, or whether it would change their perspective on someone. And you could make the same argument for the sign stealing scandals of recent years, or of the 1951. I mean, there have been so many of these controversies over the years that's what people love to debate. So I suppose in a way we're not going to hear about it every single year, because a lot of those names came off of the baseball writers ballot. But I think every 3 years for sure, you're going to continue to hear that conversation. And that's okay. That we don't shy away from it. We really want to be the repository of history, the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
And I know it changes throughout time, but I've talked to people about it, the timeline. When you're walking the timeline and you're seeing like some of the Yankees' wives' charms, their charm bracelets that they used to give the charms for World Series and All-Star games. My grandfather was in 7 All-Star games, so I have one of my grandmothers. You have the license plate of Cy Young. I mean, all the different things that are in this timeline. That's what people, and that's why I recommend, going for a ceremony. And if it's your guy, your player is great, but it's so crowded. That's why I've always recommended the fall is so beautiful, because the leaves are turning. But you want to be able to stand in front of something that you really want to read and be in and really get to know everything about it without having thousands of people on you. Fall's a great time of the year. And that's one of the things about the museum, is that if you have that kind of time, it's going to take you a few days to take it all in. I still love, one of my favorite things is all the World Series rings, to see all the World Series rings throughout the years. I mean, the stuff you guys have is just spectacular.
Well, thank you. I honestly feel like I couldn't say it better myself. I mean, when you have someone like you who's been there, we encourage people to come for induction weekend, but that's one out of 52 weekends. And there's so many other amazing times to come here, even literally right now. I mean, there's no snow coming down. Is it cold? Sure. But we had, I don't know, 50 people in the museum today who basically had the run of the place. And that there's incredible value in being able to take your time over a couple of days, stand around in an exhibit for 3, 4, 5 hours and feel like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do the second floor on this day and the third floor on that day, and come down to the plaque gallery before. I mean, there is a lot to see and do here. And I love your perspective on it, because you're saying exactly what I always say every time I do these interviews. So appreciate you teeing that up. The collection is epic. And in fact, when people ask me all the time, what are one of my favorite artifacts? One of the things I often cite is literally the one you just said, the Gehrig charm bracelet. Just kind of boggles my mind that's, and every single one of these things, they're literally priceless. I mean, you cannot even put a value on what that would go for on the open market. And it's just one of 40,000 artifacts that we have. And so we don't like to talk about the value. It's not really about the value. They're all priceless. They are truly history in our hands. It's pretty cool.
That's the whole thing about like you're like going to the Babe Ruth exhibit, and I remember there was a trophy of Babe Ruth hitting a hole in one. It's like, where do you get? And that's why the Cy Young thing, because personalized license plates became something big, like what, late 70s, the 80s. Cy Young was rolling. It's C511Y. He was, whatever year it was, he was rolling with a personalized license plate. That always stood out to me. Another thing I want to bring up, because a couple of my buddies have done it, where their kids, youth baseball, you've got these complexes that are just kind of outside Cooperstown, where youth baseball teams come from all over the country and compete against each other. And then all these kids get to come to the Baseball Hall of Fame. Just how important is that for our youngsters to be able to come, play, and then really see the history of the game to help us grow the game?
Oh man, you just nailed it. And I was very lucky. For years when I was with the Diamondbacks, we always talked with my son that 2022 we were going to get to play in Cooperstown. And then sure enough, we moved here, and his team from Arizona came out last year. So I got to experience that whole thing as a parent. He stayed and played with his Arizona buddies. And it's unbelievable. I mean, they first of all, they get to play for a week in some of these incredibly manicured fields, and you get to stay on the base and bunk up and all that. It really is an unreal experience for the kids that can do it. But then, to be able to come over here and spend time, and we quite often we have like scavenger hunts that they can walk around and try to find a bunch of artifacts. I mean, frankly, the biggest challenge is that because their baseball schedule, when they come here, they'll have 5-6 games in a week, sometimes 8 or 9 games in a week, and trying to find 5 hours to come to the hall is a challenge. So quite often they're coming and trying to squeeze a visit into 2-3 hours. And I don't recommend that for anybody unless you really are coming and don't have any other time. But yeah, those tournaments are responsible for bringing tens of thousands of people to Cooperstown every year. And I give them credit, because they help us spread the love of baseball. And I actually had the head of one of those tournaments recently say to me, if our tournament was in New Jersey, we're not getting these kind of numbers. I mean, people are coming here because it is Cooperstown, because they want to take their kids to the Hall of Fame. And because when you come with your family, I mean, the thing we talk a lot about here at the Hall is connecting generations. And so quite often you'll see grandparents will come along with the parents for that week in Cooperstown, and then all of them are coming to Cooperstown together. And it's just an unbelievable family trip that people will remember for as long as they live.
You know, when you're in our business and you're watching television and you're watching something like this, and you look at kind of like the green screen effect behind me, it's the Oakland Coliseum, it's the sets that are always, when you see Jason Stark, Ford C. Frick Award winner, and our buddy JP Morosi, and you got Brian Kinney, all three of those guys have been on the show many a times, but you're seeing them in the plaque room, and you just see how beautiful the wood is with the plaques, very understated, with the lights right on the plaques, and MLB Network's doing those shows. You came on the show. To me, it's the best background literally in television, maybe other than what we're going to see this weekend where we are at Pebble Beach, where Pebble Beach's pretty spectacular.
Not
but
bad.
that set right there, when MLB Network's there for 3 days, I think it's so important to help grow our game and help to grow the Hall of Fame and give people an idea what they need to come see. Just talk about that relationship between the network and you guys and how it's benefited both.
Well, it's honestly, we can't say enough good things about the network because frankly, that everything you just described came from COVID. We used to do the announcement down in Manhattan. Or actually Secaucus at the MLB Network studios. And when we couldn't really get everybody into one place, we did the announcement from here and everybody went, man, look at how beautiful that is. Yeah. And then this year, to MLB Network's credit, they added an extra day and they did a whole nother day worth of shows out here. And so, I mean, they have done an incredible job, not just with the announcement. At this time of year, they cover the announcement wall to wall in December with the era committees. And then they come out for the classic weekend when we do the MLB classic in May, which is Memorial Day every weekend. They're standing right there. John Pomerosi's broadcasting from the dugout from the game the old timers game we play. And then on induction weekend, they're standing there during the parade on Main Street, interviewing fans and interviewing players. And then, of course, the big day on the induction ceremony, they do an amazing job. So, I mean, I can't say enough great words about what they do because they genuinely care about it. And I think anybody who's watched their coverage knows that. And, yeah, we thank them quite a bit for doing it. I genuinely appreciate you sharing that with your listeners and viewers because it just is. This place is someplace really special, and it does exist. As you said, we're not an MLB funded entity. We're our own little nonprofit in Central New York that most people don't realize has to fundraise and do all the things we do to be able to operate. And it's an amazing. I've only been here 18 months, but man, is it an amazing place to live and work.
Well, I can just tell you, it was. I was still in college at the time here in the Bay Area. It was in the early '90s, and my mom reached out to I can't remember the man's name who was the president at the time, and we went there as a family. So there at the Baseball Hall of Fame, you guys got my grandfather's bat and ball for his 2000th hit. You got uniforms. You can look at Bob Elliott. He was the first third baseman ever to be the MVP in baseball in 1947 was my grandfather. So I know I remember the MVP wing, his name's there. And we went there and went down below. And I tell people all the time, it was like the men who were bringing the bat and the ball out there in white coats, white gloves, handing you. And you're just like, and I remember a bunch of stuff had just arrived. It was Mark McGuire. Wow. It was like stuff what you're like, I can't believe this is real. Cause you see all the stuff in the hall, and I know you guys have built more storage other places. I don't know where, but I know I've been down below and it's just like, it's almost like you're at the FBI or something. It was like, I mean, everything's so sacred, and perfect, but
you nailed it. I mean,
do you ever get a chance to, I know you haven't been there that long, but you ever get a chance just by yourself? Just you're there, you're just walking through. It's just you and John Madden's always said at the Football Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio, he believes at night the bus talk to each other. Have you ever been in there in the plaque room and walking around the Hall of Fame by yourself, just going, wow?
Oh my God, it happens almost every day because I generally am here before it opens and then I leave after it closes. And you absolutely feel the history. You feel the spirits. I haven't heard anybody talking to me yet, but there are a number of times. There's an amazing video. If you go on our YouTube channel, you'll see a really cool video that they made all the players come to life and walk through the museum at nighttime. It's really cool. And in fact, actually, I should also say, because you're talking about the collection storage space, which is just kind of mind blowing. And that I do every once in a while go down there, but not, every time I'm down there, either to give someone a tour or to go deal with an artifact of some sort, it does kind of boggle your mind what you see in the storage. But that's always been reserved really basically for VIPs like you and your family. We often do say once you've donated something, we're always that's how we survive. So we're going to make sure that the donors of these artifacts, their great grandkids can come back someday and see it because we want them to be able to, that's how we get them to donate this stuff. Or donors who are helping fund the museum will take some very high donors downstairs. But what we actually added in the last couple of years is a special experiences program where if you're an A's fan, you can come and basically purchase a special A's experience, and we'll bring 4 or 5 really cool artifacts upstairs. It won't be the full-blown underground tour like you're describing, but it's we actually just launched our new website last week as well, and you can check out baseballhall.org. And under the special experiences, you can get that chance to look at Gene Tennis's bat right in front of you, or Ricky Henderson a base that he might have stole, or all these amazing things that exist. We feel like there's a way to bring that to not just the grandkids of MVPs, but to the fans who want to be able to come and really help our mission. And it can be customized by team or by a number of different ways. So I'd encourage people to check that out if you're coming to visit.
Does that not have birthday, Christmas present written all over it?
All the time. We get it all the time. That's what a lot of times people do buy these as gifts. And we have a limited amount of them because we only have so many staff that can do it. But we have expanded the program in the last year, and it's really starting to, we're doing multiple of these every single day for people coming in.
Well, thank you so much for your time today. I mean, as you can tell, we're big fans of the Baseball Hall of Fame. We're always promoting it. I believe every baseball fan should get there as many times as possible, but you need to get there at least once. However you can get there, you fly into Albany, you can get there, and it is an experience of a lifetime. It's truly, I've been very fortunate traveling around the country, been to a lot of great museums. The Negro League Museum is unbelievable in Kansas City. A lot of great museums, but there is nothing like the Baseball Hall of Fame. There's nothing like it. So thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. And let's do this again during the season.
Anytime you want. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate how much you support us, and good luck to all the A's fans out there this year.
Take care. How cool was that? That's I mean, it's Cody, you've been there.
Yeah, I went 98 after the McGuire Sosa home run race.
I mean, it's incredible. It's you get in that plaque room and it's just like, oh, and that set they had where they're just like sitting there and they're talking about the Hall of Fame and the plaques are behind them. You get a plaque in there. I mean, it's forever. You're immortalized forever. He called me Cody too.
I know. Look at me getting all the credit.
Look at you, big leaguer.
Well, it's because I emailed him, so he probably just thought.
Cool.
No,
well, I'm glad we did that, because you know what? Maybe that's something we think about. Putting together a trip. You know, we could put something together with the powers that be and say, you know, if the A's are going back and we're doing an East Coast trip, like a Boston, New York trip, that maybe we put an A's party together and go to the Baseball Hall of Fame. I'd like to see some Reggie Jackson, some Catfish Hunter stuff, and some Raleigh Fingers stuff, and some, you know, I'd like to see all that. See, who knows what they have? Who knows what they have? Philadelphia Athletics.
I wonder if
maybe bring out some of my grandfather's stuff. I'd be keen to putting a trip like that together. I'm sure if we got a small group, there'd be a lot of A's fans that want to do that.
I wonder if Ricky's basically in there, but the base that Jose took when he stole second to join the 40-40 club for the first time, I'm sure that's probably there, or something from that game is there, which would be cool because we were talking about 40-40 guys earlier on the show. And I plan on going next year when Ichiro is on the ballot, and hopefully he gets inducted on the first ballot.
He's not going in, not a chance.
Yeah, him. If I get lucky, it'll be him and Joe Mauer going at the same time, because who knows if Mauer gets voted in this time. But if they can go in the same time, that'd be awesome. But I plan on going for when Ichiro gets inducted, because it's not that far from my family in Pittsburgh.
Ichiro's first ballot, no doubt.
Yeah, Mauer will be close.
I have a hard time thinking Joe Mauer's not going to get in. You know, I mean, it's like there's a reason why Beltran didn't go in, right?
Yes.
And by the way, I totally understand what he's saying when it comes to broadcasters and other people voting. But they're going to have to make a change because they're running out of writers. They're literally running out of legitimate people to vote. They know that. They're not going to say it, but they know that. But yeah, maybe, just maybe, and I'll bust the article out. I can bring it up here. It's USA Today had it, where maybe maybe we're getting closer to that cloud of the PED guys. It's gonna, because we're kind of at a point to where Manny Ramirez, Alex Rodriguez, it doesn't have the bark that Clemens and Bonds have. It's like now that Clemens and Bonds, they were when that storm cloud is over you and it's darkest and it's nasty and it's pouring on you and it's awful. That's past the Hall of Fame now. And just that light gray that's dumping a little bit, that's Manny Ramirez and Alex Rodriguez. And it's slowly going away. Now, the problem is you got this other cloud coming, and it's called sign stealing. That's not as dark and as nasty as the PED cloud. But that PED, would you agree, Cody, that the darkest part of that PED cloud is past Cooperstown? There's just the remaining light gray, dumping a little showers, and it's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, you nailed it with Manny and A-Rod being the two guys that are mainly left. And, I mean, Manny Ramirez is a Hall of Famer by numbers, but the PED test won't get him in. And A-Rod, same thing. A-Rod, it'll be interesting to see how A-Rod tracks years going down. Because he said sorry. We've talked about that before 100 times. He's on television, so that might help him. But you're right. Now you're looking at more of Beltran with the Astros cheating scandal in the last year of his career, not the first year, not in the middle. The last year of his career, he helped the Astros in the cheating scandal. Allegedly, he was the mastermind. And it's penalizing him when he's...
Whoa. What do you want, his PR staff?
No, I'm just saying, if you're telling me it's just Beltran that did it, I mean, come on.
Well, you trying to say Beltran just did it that 1 year?
Well, no, that's why you got to look at the Yankees, too. I'm just saying. He was on the Yankees.
No, you were trying to pull that. Well, it's just the last year of his career. No. He admitted. He tell him, I brought this to Houston. Well, he had to bring it from somewhere. So that means he just wasn't doing it for 1 year.
He's still one of the greatest switch hitters of all time.
I hear you. But we have to recognize if we're gonna, it just can't. We're not gonna say, it's that's the whole thing about Altuve. We did it to. Oh, so you're saying that if I give you everything, I'm good? Okay. And then once we give you everything, you're not going to talk about it to anybody? Okay, we're good. So Altuve can sit there and go, it was just this one little time and the rest of the time never. And then it now comes out Altuve didn't want it. Yeah. And it goes back to Altuve going yard off Chapman, doesn't want his jersey torn off. I mean, we're not stupid. It was going on for more than 1 year in Houston. But baseball, unlike what they're trying to do with teams trying to get new ballparks, baseball cleaned this one up really quick.
Yeah, Luno and Hintra quickly. And Altuve is going to be fascinating when he's up for the Hall of Fame because he's on track or tracking to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for what he's been able to
get 3,000 hits. He'll be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Yeah, this will be swept under the rug. But by the time you got to think, he is still. How many years do you think he has left? 8.
Let's see. He's like in his early 30s. I think he might be 30. So I would say probably at least like good years. I'd say 5 to 6. I'd say he probably is about 7 or 8.
7 or 8, right now, and then 5 years after that.
He'll be like 43, 44 when he's up for the first time.
I'll be retired. I mean, seriously. I mean, everybody. There'll be a whole new generation. They won't. By the time Altuve is getting into the Hall of Fame, it won't be just baseball writers. It'll be a different way guys are getting elected. That is so far away.
We're both off. Jose Altuve will be 33 in May.
Yeah, still. I mean, I see him playing till 40.
Yeah, right now he's at 1,935 hits. He's a career 307 hitter. He's a 46.5 WAR. He has a 128 OPS plus. That's 28 points above league average. He has an 830 career OPS, 279 career steals. And he scored 986 runs. The guy is going to track towards being a Hall of Famer. And he should go in because he's a really good hitter. But I'm curious, like I said, to see if they hold this against him at all because of what happened. If you even look at that website they created, what was it, like the signstealingscandal.com where the guy tracked the trash can bangs? Altuve had one of the lowest amounts on there. So we'll never know the truth because none of these guys are going to admit it. But, I mean, he won the MVP that year too. But I think Altuve for sure, first ballot. But I feel like that's going to be a cloud hanging over him when he goes in, just like Beltran.
But like I said, how do you know that? We don't even know how they're going to be elected by the time he gets in.
You're right. It could be guys more like younger voters who don't even
may not even be right. I mean, it could be some writers, could be some broadcasters, could be executives, could be. By the time he gets in, you're literally talking probably 13, 15 years from now. That's legitimate. 13 to 15 years from now, we'll be saying Jose Altuve is on the ballot. I'll be 65, 66. That's how long it is from now. So I don't think we can look in our crystal ball who will be the president, who will be setting precedent of the Baseball Hall of Fame. It won't be writers. There won't be enough in 15 years, there's not going to be enough writers left to be doing the votes.
Especially
there won't even be newspapers by that. Newspapers will be gone. So, I mean, unless you're just a bunch of guys from Fangraphs and The Athletic voting, they're going to have to figure out another way. In 15 years, I hate to say it too, but yeah, in 15 years, you won't. I don't even know how newspapers will even. I don't even think they'll be around. So they're going to have to. So by the time Altuve is on the ballot, how we're electing guys will be completely different. All right, coming up next, we do need to get into this 40-40. We're running out of time, and I need to get into the hitting coaches. It's crazy. It literally is crazy what's going on in our game. But before we do all that, coming up next, we have to honor a legend right here on A's Cast Live.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine of your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
The Coliseum has gone by many names, but none better than the Last Dive Bar. Hi, everyone. Ken Korak here, and my friends at Last Dive Bar are helping us celebrate our longtime home. Last Dive Bar has the most unique merchandise for all Oakland baseball fans. T-shirts, sweatshirts, the Ray Fosse line, and my personal favorite, the lights have taken full effect. Visit their website at lastdivebar.com or follow them on social media at Last Dive Bar. All proceeds are invested back into the A's Community Fund and their affiliated charities. Go to lastdivebar.com. That's lastdivebar.com.
Humanity has accomplished a whole lot so far. We created penicillin, the automobile, and the internet, not to mention drones, duct tape, and the hot dog. It's all thanks to the power of human connections. And Ring Central's here to make that even easier, more seamlessly and securely, on a platform built to grow your business. Say hello to a whole new way to say hello. Visit ringcentral.com and say hello to possibilities. Ring Central. Message, video, phone, together.
1972 World Series MVP Gene Tennis joined A's Cast Live and reminisced about the days of being roommates with Sal Bando.
Sal and I had a lot of, we had a great time together for 6.5 years or whatever it was. But him and I would get in wrestling matches in the room, and then I'd get the best of him sometime, and then he'd get ticked off, and then he would just literally pick me up and buggy whip me up against the back headboard of the bed, and I'd call Tommy, that's enough. I'm not paying for no stuff broken in this room. We ain't making that kind of money, neither you or me. Yeah. So we would get into our scuffles and arguments, and then we'd end up going to dinner together. And he was a great roommate. I had a lot of fun with Sal.
You can watch the full interview at youtube.com/athletics or listen at athletics.com/A'sCast.
This is Chris Townsend for the Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek. Great news! Our indoor dining is back, along with our beautiful patio dining. Come taste our world-famous chicken pie that has been served in Southern California for 83 years. The Chicken Pie Shop of Walnut Creek has one of the most dynamic menus, plus a full bar. Pot pies, gourmet burgers, sandwiches, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget, we still do takeout and delivery. For all the information, go to chickenpieshopwc.com. That's chickenpieshopwc.com.
If you're looking for a new mattress, Nest Bedding has you covered. Sleep on the same mattress Hall of Famer Ricky Henderson sleeps on. Nest Bedding is a national brand with family-owned prices and service. You can shop at one of their Barrier locations, and all stores are sanitized and safe, or you can navigate their easy-to-use website, nestbedding.com. That's nestbedding.com. Green and gold fans, use the coupon code Oakland and you'll get 10% off your entire order. Nest Bedding, love where you sleep.
Looking to stay up to date on all things A's? Head over to athletics.com/A'sCast. That's athletics.com/A'sCast to listen to A's baseball in full 24/7 coverage of the A's, only on A's Cast. With a single click, you can stream great shows, live pre- and post-game coverage, and of course, all the great action of the A's this season. Head to athletics.com/A'sCast today.
The Oakland Athletics begin spring training on February 25th. Now's the time to make plans to catch us in Mesa, Arizona, and enjoy the sunshine with your family and friends. Buy your tickets early for the best seats at the lowest prices as your green and gold take on the Giants, Dodgers, Padres, Angels, and more at Hohokam Stadium.
And Tony, it's a deep drive to right in the corner. Gritchick going back. He'll turn and watch it fly.
Get your tickets at athletics.com/spring. That's athletics.com/spring.
A's Cast Live continues from the town. Here's Chris Townsend.
All right, Cody, we got some tickets to promote.
That's right. Single game tickets are on sale now for the 2023 season. I'll tell you real quick. You go to athletics.com/tickets to find your tickets today. But I have something to show our fans right now. Right now, I have them in here with me on July 2nd, I believe. We are giving away the Pit Viper Macho Man Randy Savage sunglasses, as I am displaying them right now. They come with this cool bag as well that has the A's logo on it. So you can get those on July 2nd. We also have the Jackie Robinson hat for Jackie Robinson Day, which is pretty cool. That's in A's Kelly Green colors. So a lot of great giveaways this year. The Hawaiian shirt giveaway on June 18th. The T-shirt hoodie on August 20th. Plenty of bobbleheads, a Tony Kemp poster. You can find all these online, all the dates and single game tickets online, athletics.com/tickets today.
You know, since we've been trading back and forth a lot off Instagram, a lot of the old school wrestling clips, those glasses, whether you're talking about the great Macho Man, also Macho King, Randy Savage, former minor league baseball player, neighbor to Brett Phillips, friend of the program. Phillips is where now? Where did he sign?
I believe he's an Angel, so we'll see him this year.
Can't wait to have him on the program. Or Bret Hart wore those.
That's right.
Glasses.
The execution.
Who else wore those glasses?
I'm trying to think. Like Hart and Macho Man are the two that come to mind for me.
I never thought that look would be brought back. You know, they say everything goes in circles, man. Everything comes back. No one thought bell bottoms would come back. They came back. I never thought that look right there would come back. And I do appreciate, as I was trying to fix the iPad, which I was not successful doing, I do appreciate people on the comment line talking about how bad your man bun is and how it needs to go. So, yes, I thought man buns would be something that would go away. And for some reason, they've still stayed. And it's literally one of the ugliest looks I've ever seen on a grown man.
Well, it's okay. I think I explained to you the reason why I have it. And, well, once it comes true, I'll cut it off.
All right. I hear you.
Or I might, once we get close to the regular season, I might just chop it off since the season's starting.
I hear you. Want to bring this up because John Adams is somebody you're going to know as a baseball fan. You know, there's certain fans. We put fans in the Hall of Fame in the NFL. We don't do it in Major League Baseball. And once again, we established the Baseball Hall of Fame is independent of Major League Baseball. But there's certain fans that maybe we need a fan wing. Because this man would have been in the fan wing. Dating back to the Mistake by the Lake Municipal Stadium in Cleveland. Yes, I'm going to say Indians. He was a Cleveland Indians fan for many, many years. And then also once they became the Guardians. It's unfortunate that John Adams, the man that banged the drum out in left field, left center for every single game, year after year after year, you hear the boom, 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 boom. I mean, this guy, you think about how cold it is off that lake, always there, going to the new ballpark, always there. He was 71 years old, 48 years of his life banging the drum for the Cleveland Indians / Guardians. You talk about a great fan. And it makes you think of Ray Fosse. Ray loved him. Our beloved Ray Fosse absolutely loved John, knew him, always talked about him when the Athletics were taking on Cleveland. It is sad that he has passed away, but truly a baseball treasure. I mean, they've done so many videos on this guy over the years. I mean, he was a fixture. He was an absolute fixture in Cleveland. When they did the movie Major League, when they thought about the fans, they thought about him during the movie. He was kind of, they looked at the fans and went, we got to have somebody like that guy. He was an unbelievable baseball fan. Do we have the tribute that the Guardians put out for John Adams? Do we have that, Cody?
Yeah, they shared this on their Twitter. I think it's at CLE Guardians, CLE Guardians on Twitter. But yeah, I do have it.
Since 1973, John Adams has been the heartbeat of Cleveland baseball games, keeping the spirit in the ballpark alive. His tradition started when he was just 21 years old and wanted to recreate in the new ballpark the sound of banging chairs that was so popular at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. For $25 at a garage sale, John purchased a bass drum that would accompany him to games for 48 years. The beat of his drum could be heard all over the ballpark as the team took the field, when a home run sailed out of the park, or when the team needed an extra lift. John quickly became a fan and team favorite and was at the ballpark for countless moments and memories. Out of his 48 years of drumming, he only missed 45 home games. John will always remain a member of Cleveland baseball and a part of the ballpark with his dedicated seat in the bleachers. We will never forget John Adams' bass drum and how it brought this ballpark to life. From all of us, thank you, John.
That's really cool. No doubt about it. I mean, it's unfortunate that he passed. Sad for him and his family. Our prayers and good wishes to them. And it makes you think of our beloved Ray. What a tradition. I mean, all those years watching games. A's in Cleveland. There he was. Boom, boom, boom. Ray was talking to him. Hard to believe he's not going to be there. But what a baseball fan. What great dedication. And good on Cleveland to, over the years, recognize him for being that great fan. Of course, we know how much drums mean to us here in Oakland. So a lot of respect for John Adams as he passes away at the age of 71. And we wanted to recognize that and remember him. And we're thinking of Ray, too. So do we want to go hitting coaches or do we want to go 40-40?
Let's do the hitting coaches because we teased it last week that we were going to talk about it.
Right.
And if we don't get the 40-40, we can always do it on Friday.
Because no one's going to break or do anything 40-40 by Friday, correct?
Yeah, confirmed. There's no games this till beginning of or towards the end of February.
Do you know where I'll be tomorrow, Cody?
Pebble Beach.
Folks, a sporting event, and I know Jim Nantz, the great Jim Nantz, likes to say hello, friends, and all that kind of stuff. But there is no event in the Bay Area, and it's not actually in the Bay Area because it's down at Pebble Beach. But it's like Northern California. There's nothing like it. If you've never been down to it, you don't have to be a golf fan. You're walking on literally the best real estate in the United States of America. As they say, the greatest meeting of land and sea in the U.S. and in the world. If you live in Northern California and you've never been down to Pebble Beach, it's just not the golf course. It's a town. And then there's Monterey just north of it. 17-mile drive, a forest that comes right down onto the Pacific Ocean and the beauty of the cliffs and the waves and everything. It's breathtaking. And if you can get down there, it's the next 4 days. It's actually, they're doing the celebrity event. Your guy Buster Posey's playing in it this year. Steve Young, Jerry Rice. I mean, there's always former Bay Area athletes, sometimes current Bay Area athletes that are playing in there because it's the pros and the celebrities and a lot of rich guys in business. But you got the celebrities out there. I mean, for years, a lot of the top names. I remember one time I interviewed Dan Marino, then Tom Brady. By the way, Tom Brady retired?
Yeah, well, we can say that for the end of the show. I have the audio, but yes, Brady, as of now, retired for the second time in the last.
Anybody buying that?
So someone had the best tweet. It was like, in the last calendar year, we've had 2 Tom Brady retirements and 4 Carlos Correa contract agreements.
4?
Well, we signed with the Twins last year.
Oh, okay. So 2 Twins. Okay, I got you. All right. Yeah. How many times has Jennifer Lopez been engaged during that time too?
Oh, wow. Shots fired. It's a great question, though. I don't know the answer to that.
Too soon? She's the only one that can chase down Brady in rings, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Because remember, the only guy that Brady has to catch up to is 16-time world champion, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair.
We got Bill Russell.
Oh yeah, he's 11. Yeah, that's on me because a lot of people, including myself, forget Bill Russell has 11 rings with the Celtics.
Yeah, you got Bill Russell. Then you got Ric Flair. I don't know. J-Lo might have more rings than Tom Brady.
It's a good question. I don't know. I mean,
She might. I don't know. She's right there. She's right there. She's in the running.
Ever since her and A-Rod, what were they called? J-Rod. Ever since they split up, I haven't been paying attention to J-Lo.
What do you mean? She got married to Ben Affleck.
Again?
She literally broke up with Alex Rodriguez and immediately was back together with Ben Affleck and immediately married again. I mean, she's got to be at like 6 or 7, maybe even 8.
All right. Well, you were talking about her. How many?
You don't need to look it up. I mean, her and Brady are ring chasers. There's no question. They're below
4.
They're below. Well, and the thing about Flair is his is belts. It's not rings.
He's also a 2-time Hall of Famer.
Ric Flair is?
He won it for the 4 Horsemen, and he's also won for himself.
Okay. Well, he's and he was not happy with Purdy not being in the game on Sunday.
Yeah. Well, he showed his toughness with the torn UCL, but 4 times J-Lo's been married. 4. That's what.
Yeah, but that's not engaged. But we're talking engagements.
Oh.
She's been engaged. She's been engaged like 7, 8 times. That's why the joke is her and Tom Brady have the most rings.
She's tied the knot 4 times and also been engaged twice before calling those relationships off. This is what Google tells me.
So she's at 6?
It's 6, so she's still 1 behind Brady. She's tied with the Steelers.
Oh yeah, she's not done. Oh, don't think she's not done. I was thinking about this, and I want you to think about where you work and how you work. Because I read this article. I'm just going to give you the title of the article. It says it all. The most volatile job in baseball. Why an MLB hitting coach role is so hard to keep. Just think about this. You have a job. Let's say your job is a highly stressful job. And it is not only highly stressful mentally, it's physically. And you don't do it Monday through Friday. You do it 7 days a week. This is a job that absolutely consumes you. You've dreamed of this job. You've got this job, and it takes up everything in your life. Yes, you want to have balance, but it's not really possible. And everybody around you knows that balance is not possible, that this is your job, and we're all going to be supportive of you in this job because it's not going to be forever. So you put everything you got, your heart, your soul goes into this job. And for 7 months a year, this is all you do. And then when you take the time off of those 7 months, the other 5, you're mentally and physically training for those 7 months. It is a year-round, high-stress, highly physical job. And you've got to be all in to be great at it. Now, the person you want to trust to help you be great in this job, that once again is highly stressful, mentally and physical, you want to trust this person. And you want to believe that this person is going to do everything that they can to help make you better. Like your own job. You want your boss, you want to believe that your boss is doing as much as you are, that your boss is striving for the same things you are, that you're trying to do whatever it is you do to be the best at it, and you want your boss to help you be the best at what you're doing. That's what you want. And you're thinking about how much we pay these players. You think about what we're expecting out of these players, and we're really railroading them because front office people are the most unaccountable people now. It's unreal. They have all this data. They have all this stuff that says they're smart and they got all this stuff. And then they tell their coaches, here's the stuff. And if it doesn't work with the athletes, they've got to blame somebody, and they're surely not going to blame themselves. They're going to blame the guy they gave the data to, because they're not going to blame the athlete because they picked the athlete. Remember, the front office guy picked the athlete. So if he blames the athlete, that's on him. You can't blame the data because it's his data. Can't blame yourself again. So who am I going to blame? I'm going to blame the hitting coach. It's his fault. And we're just going to change these guys out every year like it's nothing. And once again, getting back to the player. You're in this high-stress job. You got to trust the guy. You want to believe that this guy is going to do everything he can to help you be the best hitter there is. And he's going to work with you, and it's video, it's emotional. It's like, I mean, this article in The Athletic is phenomenal, done by Cody Stavenhagen. I mean, you're like a psychiatrist. You're like a therapist. You're biomechanics. I mean, a hitting coach, you're everything to these players. And these players got to trust you. And there's that bond, because there's times in baseball you are going to struggle, and you're going to struggle. It's so hard, and you struggle, and you take the game home with you, and you can't sleep, and you wake up, and all you think about is hitting and hitting and hitting, and why can't I hit, and why am I struggling? My hands and everything. I watch video. This game swallows you up. And that's why these pitching coaches and these hitting coaches are so important, to have the right guy that the players can trust. But front offices, once again, are so non-accountable that they're using this position of trust like it doesn't mean anything. And so now what have the players done? Well, I can't trust the hitting coach. I don't know if he's going to be here next year. He's telling me to do stuff, but he's gone after this year. So what have these players done? And it's the same thing on the pitching. Not as bad, but similar. They've gone to these outside coaches. They've gone to these gurus. They've gone to Driveline. They've gone to these super complexes where there's these teachers who try and make these players better. And these players know that every year that they can go to Driveline or wherever to make their skills better. Whether you're a pitcher or you're a hitter, and you know they're going to be there. So when you come back and you got that new hitting coach, and the new hitting coach tries to, as any teacher, tries to get to know you, tries to get inside you, tries to find out what ticks. Players standoffish. Why am I gonna enter this relationship with you knowing you're probably gone after this year? You're out of here. Or in 2 years. I don't trust you. I have my own hitting coach that is there for me every day. He's there for me in the off season. We've gone over everything about my life, about hitting, my mechanics, my nutrition, my workout, my recovery. This guy's here. I pay him. I trust him. You're paid for by the team, and I don't even know how long you're going to be here. I mean, any of you out there in your job, if you knew your boss wasn't going to be here in 6 months, are you going to listen to him? Or if the person who's supposed to help you, is gone in 5 months, 6 months, are you going to trust him with everything? No. That's where we are in baseball. And this article in The Athletic, tells you everything you need to know. You want to know why hitting is down? It's the 3 true outcomes: power, strikeouts, walks, batting average. No one hits for average. What's the game plan? Look at I'm just going to go down the line, not going to do the years on the job. This is the years on the job in baseball for hitting coaches. 2, 9. And the 9 is Kevin Seitzer, longtime Kansas City Royal. He's been with the Braves, but he's been fired before. But here it is. 2, 9 2 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 5 1.5 1 5 1 2 2 2 1 2 2 2 1 4 2 1 7 2 5 2. Now, if you're following along, Cody, that's 30 numbers I just gave. What two numbers showed up the most?
1 or 2?
1 or 2. That's your hitting coach. You're only in baseball for so long. You only have so long to be here, compete, make money, take care of your family, set up your legacy, do all of that. And you're only going to trust so many people. Are you going to trust new guy after new guy after new guy after new guy? You going to trust that? Someone comes in and goes, hey, look, I want you to start working on some stuff. I'm not working on any. Hey, thanks. I got my team that I work with. I got Team Townsend. And Team Townsend, I got my guys wherever my think tank is, where I'm going to get better as a hitter. They watch my at-bats. They've got all my video. You as a hitting coach, I don't even know who you are. You're coming in. You're no good to me. You're maybe going to be here 1 or 2 years. Why would I trust you? Is that what you want for your athletes? Who's controlling this? Front offices. Front offices, they hire the coaches. That's why it's so important in Oakland. We've got continuity. That's why it's so important that we got guys that have been around for a long time, right? That you got Scott Emerson has been the pitching coach for a long time. He's one of the best in the business. And he's going to get all different kind of players. And he's going to get – the players are going to change, but Scott Emerson is here. And Scott Emerson can set the parameters and how he wants everything to go from the big leagues down. So everybody is on the same page from the big leagues down and what we want from our pitchers. Darren Bush, who's no longer the hitting coach – you know, it's so funny. I remember I used to get phone calls. It's Bushy's fault. Major League Baseball is flipping these guys around like Tic Tacs. Darren Bush is still here. Tommy Everidge is here. Tommy Everidge has come up through the system. You've got Crohn's here with him. You got people that have been here that work together, no matter what the actual title is. They've all been around. Major League Baseball, I mean, how many times do we have to hear about this, Cody, with Alex Smith? What's the problem with Alex Smith and the 49ers? They give him a different offensive coordinator. Then it happened to Derek Carr with the Raiders. You keep giving him a different offensive coordinator. You keep giving him a different playbook, a different guy in his head. We understand that for football, right? Niner fans, you remember, Alex Smith every year has a different quarterback / offensive coordinator coach. Every year it's a different playbook. This is not good for him. Finally, Harbaugh comes in, and you got Roman, and you got continuity. Alex Smith gets better, and the Niners start winning. Derek Carr had a different guy every year himself. It's not good. But in football, we recognize that. Why don't, Cody, we recognize that in baseball? Why do we not recognize that every single year you've got a different coach in these hitters' ears, and it's not helping?
Vince is here. Before we get to Vince real quick, I'll tell you. After reading the article, 17 teams changed hitting coaches between 2021 and 2022. This coming season, 10 coaches will enter their first-year teams. The average lifespan, well, lifespan's a bad choice, but the average span a hitting coach lasts with a team is under 2.5 years. You got guys like Robert Van Soyak, who helped Justin Turner and others, who's now the hitting coach of the Dodgers. Don Latta, who helped Justin Turner turn around his career, and Van Soyak. You have Aaron Judge has his own guy as well. Craig Wallenbrock, who we've had on this show before, former scout, has his own hitting thing. Like, players work with these guys, and you're seeing it more now. Guys are going to drive line. It's baseball's completely different, and you're right about the front offices dictating it. And there's like two guys that have just had their job over 5 years as a hitting coach, and that's truly alarming.
Yeah, that's why you go outside, because you can trust those guys. We do have the great Vince Cotroneo. And that's the problem with Vince is he's got like 8 or 10 different swing coaches in golf, and that's why he's never put it together, because every year he's got a different guy telling him how to hit a draw or a fade, right, Vince?
There's no doubt about that, and it hasn't gotten any better, and I haven't beaten Dominic since he was 12. and he's 28. So the battle continues, but I'll get out there and tee it up still. Hopefully when you come down here, we'll get a chance to do that.
Isn't it crazy when you think, I mean, I don't know how much you heard of that, but if you're a professional athlete and every single year or 2 years, they're giving you a different voice, how as a professional athlete, you only have so much time in this game. This game is so stressful, mentally, physically. How are you going to trust somebody with your swing and how you earn money if you don't even know if this guy's going to make it through the year?
Yeah, those are two important words in that statement. And I did listen to a portion of the discussion about the movement of hitting coaches is trust, developing trust. And even though there are players, and I know Cody mentioned a few of them, there are so many players that have their own hitting coach outside of the organization that they are in contact with, that they send videos to, that they have communication back and forth with. And as a manager of a big league team, plus the hitting coach and the assistant hitting coach, those that are putting together their game plans for you, how does that all work together? How do they all develop that circle of trust? And then the other word you said was swing. Yeah, they're teaching them how to swing, or they're teaching them how to throw if they're at drive line. Oh, his velocity went up 4 miles an hour. Can you teach them how to hit situationally? Can you teach them how to pitch in certain situations? And I think for me, that's always been the challenge. Well, I think there's no doubt that places like Driveline and other of these personalized coaches on the hitting side have opened up the door to areas that have made players better in certain areas. They're not the end all, at least not for me. They have provided a part of the foundation for a player to reach and get to and have success in the major leagues, but there's so much more involved standing in that box at Fenway Park with 30,000 people screaming at you. You got a runner at second base in a one-run game in the eighth inning. You got to get that guy home. And the ability to do that outside of talking about, well, how do I swing? Where's my swing plane? Where's my launch angle? Where's my exit velocity? As opposed to where's the ball being pitched? Where can I put it in play to successfully get that job done? And I think that's the ongoing conversation / even battle at times between major league staffs who spend an inordinate amount of time looking at video and trying to find the best path for their player to have success in situations, and the guy that is teaching a certain way to swing and hit and to react to a baseball. Sometimes they don't necessarily mesh as smoothly as everybody would like that to happen.
You know, the good thing about Oakland from a coaching standpoint, we're like the opposite. It's not the players stay the same and the coaches change. It's the players change and the coaches stay the same. So really the good news is, at least from our standpoint, from the big leagues down, you know, I just mentioned Scott Emerson. You've got a game plan from a pitching coach that starts at the big league level and gets filtered all the way down. And it has stayed like that for years. We're not flip-flopping guys every single year, which is just would be disaster. Flip-flopping players and coaches every year would be an absolute disaster.
Well, at the Shintaro Fujinami press conference, as much as we may not want to listen to Scott Boras talk very often, in this particular case, he made a lot of sense on why were the A's the team, in his mind, with the Boras Corporation, to give Fujinami the opportunity. Certainly a one-year deal allows him to build some value. Maybe that allows him to exploit that and get more money in something somewhere else. But he also said in that press conference, I look at the Oakland pitching model, how they've made pitchers that have come through our organization better. And he pointed out more than one pitcher that was doing that. And I think that speaks volumes to what you're saying, that players do come into this system and they find the communication, the language, the ability to prepare, that it does make them better and it allows them to experience success at the major league level.
All right, so you're down in the Valley of the Sun. Are you getting those vibes? You getting ready? How you feeling as we're not that far away?
Well, a couple of weeks ago was, as you know, you were down here with Cody for fantasy camp, and that Saturday night I spent some time with the campers, and we had a one-on-one session with Barry Zito. That was a lot of fun, and an hour basically unfiltered with Barry, talking about all of his great memories with the A's and singing career and just how things have changed and how his life has gone. That was a lot of fun. And that was kind of setting the spark because, I saw Schutte and saw Dallas and, saw Steiny and, Carney Lansford, all the guys that are a part of the camp experience for the folks that came down to enjoy fantasy camp. And I got a chance to ask a couple of guys, hey, have you seen guys in like Tommy Everidge? Have you seen guys over at the complex? Yeah, I have. And been working with some guys and talking about Ramon Laureano, how he looks fit and he looks great. He's really determined, maybe a little more of a chip on his shoulder than normally that he has, which he's had since he's been in Oakland Athletic. And I think that's a good thing. So, yeah, I have certainly begun to get excited about what are the stories that we're going to tell this year. Now, we know when a team loses 102 games and really didn't go to extraordinary measures to change the path, at least for this year, that it's still a rebuilding path, that there are going to be struggles. What I hope for is, Asture Ruiz, what's that story going to be in spring training? Fujinami, what's that story going to be in spring training? Kyle Muller coming over as well from the Atlanta Braves. What is that story going to be? And then having players, not a knock on the guys that wore the A's uniform the past couple of years, but guys with a little more big league cachet. Ledmus Diaz, what does he have left? Jesus Aguilar, can he actually bounce back to a certain degree? Jace Peterson, a plus defender, a guy that's been in the big leagues several years that gives you a little bit more of a sense of expectation. And I think looking at those kinds of things are what I'm anxious to see come together. I want to see Ken Waldachuk in the beginning of spring training. I really hope that he has a good opportunity to make the club in the rotation. I want to see a healthy Paul Blackburn, a healthy James Caprillion, and just watch that pitching competition take place. And anxious to see velocity out of the bullpen, something that we talked about last year that was lacking. Try to find more control. If they can find better control and more velocity in that bullpen, and the fact that Zach Jackson and Danny Jimenez got some closing experience has got to help them as they try to continue to get their footing on the major league level. I think that does strengthen the chances for the A's to hold on to some leads when they've got them late in ball games. So those are the things that I'm hoping to see play out over the course of spring training. And of course, Johnny Doskow joining us, salt of the earth human being. It's going to be fun to have Johnny back in the fold. He was with us in 2012 when Ken was out for a bit of time. So it's going to be a fun time for us in the booth. Fun to have Johnny around and his infectious energy again. And just interested, as we always talk about, we're trying to find stories to tell. And I think that will begin when spring training gets underway in a couple weeks. Plus, finally, this is for Arizona standards. It's been about 15 degrees below normal here. It's been in the 50s more often than not. It's just now breaking through to get to the 60s and 70s. And the golf tournament of the Super Bowl next week in town, and the spring training is ready to go the following couple of days after that.
God bless you. That winter you guys have gone through. I mean,
look, I said it to the campers during, when I was there on that Saturday, and I've really thought a lot about the folks in Northern California with what everybody went through weather-wise this winter, seeing it from afar. I'm just hoping that folks can continue to find a way to push forward and I can't imagine the kind of conditions everybody had to deal with.
Well, I was wearing shorts at fantasy camp and everybody was making fun of my white legs, but I didn't care. I was just happy to be in shorts.
Well, you'll definitely have that opportunity. I think it's going to be a warmer and drier winter or spring training time than what we had last year. That's encouraging as well. So it's been a while. It's been since 2019 since we had what we would consider a normal spring training, starting on time, not the thoughts about pandemic or COVID or, lockouts, that everything can kind of start on a normal schedule. Hopefully, spring training is such a fun time of the year for fans, no matter where your team is. As they say, everybody's in first place and, in spring training on opening day. But it's so much more relaxed and so much more fun, so much more access to players and coaches, getting autographs and just, watching the workouts. I do hope that folks are making some plans to come down to the Valley of the Sun and enjoy that over in Mesa.
Well, yeah, you hit the nail on the head with getting back to normal. I think we've seen that starting with the winter meetings in San Diego, having the first one again. Now we got fantasy camp full bore. Now we're going to do pitchers and catchers. I mean, yeah, if it's starting after all this time to really feel normal. And, we're going to be doing a little 2-hour pregame Monday through Friday before your guys' broadcast. And what kind of excites me, and I think for you guys too, doing a play-by-play, is that we've got some fights. We got some jobs that need to be won, but there's like legit competition, something I don't think we saw last year. Last year, you're coming out of the lockout, you're just trying to find players and find a team. Now, wouldn't you say we'll be a little more interested in this spring because there's going to be some true fights for some jobs for this 26-man roster?
I think it's fair to say, knowing what was put in place last year, what the A's were doing for 2022, that spring training could arguably the worst in the history of the club, just because of what they had to do. Every other day it seemed like they were having a press conference saying goodbye to Matt Chapman, Matt Olson, Sean Manaea. All these things just kept on happening time and time again. Chris Bassett leaving, and that's behind them. It was such a crunch time for the front office, knowing what they were asked to do, which is tough enough to do, to try to make the right kind of deal for your organization moving forward, but in a short amount of time, short window, and not allowed to really build the kind of momentum you want to, making those kinds of deals if that's what you're going to do. And so this is different this year, and I think the pace for David and the front office has proven that. I've talked to some folks about the international signs, and I know this is something that's probably down the road, but there's a lot of folks that are really high on the Morales kid, the Cuban pitcher that the A's signed in the international draft. He was the best pitcher in that draft. So you're just hoping that things are going to move forward. You're going to see Zach Geloff in camp. You're going to see Tyler Soderstrom in camp. You're going to see young guys that are really considered a significant part of the winning future for the Oakland Athletics, and get a chance to watch them perform. So I think there's a lot to be excited about for this spring training, much different than what we had last year.
And you have to say the division got better. I mean, the Houston Astros are the world champs. Who are the true contenders in the division against the Astros?
Well, all the money that the Rangers spent on their starting rotation, and Jacob deGrom finding that the Rangers are in agreement with his same kind of thought process on what he wants to do for the amount of money that they gave him. It's second only to school districts and Mike Hampton in Denver with that comment that deGrom made. He simply wanted to be paid, and he was paid by Texas. And still with all those acquisitions that they made,
I still think Mike Hampton really cared about those school districts in Colorado. I mean, because from what I hear, those are really good school districts.
I don't know whatever happened to Gage Hampton, his son at the time that was going to school in Denver. I wonder what kind of a student he became because.
Did you go to Harvard after that?
Yeah. But Texas spending all that money, and people are still wondering if they're going to get, to 85 wins with all the money they spent 2 years in a row. For me, it's still all about the pitching with the Angels. Yes, they made some moves to strengthen their roster in terms of offense. That if guys go down like Anthony Rendon, they've got more of a proven player like Gio Urshela that's going to step in for him, as opposed to what they went through in the past. And then, Seattle, they've all this time trying to get back to the postseason. They've done that now. Now the expectation is you're supposed to go back and see how they handle that different type of thought process. But it all goes through Houston. They're really deep. They're really good. They continue to, when players leave, they put somebody else in, and they seem to not lose much of a beat at all. And it's going to be a challenge to watch them perform and try to battle against them as best you can.
Yeah, it's so interesting being down at the winter meetings, and when the teams try to balance moves with how the optics look and the PR, and it's like Houston Astros, they don't care. They don't care about the PR. They don't care about what their fans think. They're like, when they're ready for a guy to go, Carlos Correa, you going to sign this? Well, that's not enough for you. Okay, see you later. Garrett Cole, see you later. Verlander, you just won a World Series and the side with us, but we're not looking for that money. See you later. They're going to do what they do. And it's very impressive where we are in 2023 that a team will truly make decisions, and they're not worried about PR hits.
Nope. And, they fill in Jeremy Pena, Kyle Tucker, Hunter Brown now stepping in probably into the rotation. Framber Valdez elevated probably to the top of that rotation minus Verlander. That's what the Astros have done. Now, it'll be an interesting year because you're looking at potentially the end of the window with Altuve and Bregman, who have chances to be free agents in the not too distant future. So how does that play out? What's their next move in that regard? How does that affect those two players and their decisions moving forward? How does that affect that organization moving forward? But until proven otherwise, it's got to go through Houston to win the West and advance. through the American League. No question for me.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. How about in the American League? How do you see the American League this year?
Well, it was interesting. The money that the Yankees spent, it kind of reminded me of 2009 when they went after CC and Mark Teixeira when they kept Judge and they got Carlos Rodon, who was in a free agent year, proved that he was healthy last year. But before that, he's had some health concerns, and they gave him a lot of years and wonder how healthy he will be long term for them. They're still the best team in the American League East. I thought it was interesting this past couple of weeks seeing all the contract extensions by the Tampa Bay Rays of all teams that are signing guys to long-term deals. First was Wander Franco last year with that big deal for the young player, the superstar in waiting, and then Pete Fairbanks and Jeffrey Springs, and they brought in Zach Eflin from the Phillies. They always find a way to be competitive, and Toronto's got to step up. I mean, they've got to be a team that they went after Bassett now to kind of step into their rotation. I suspect they will be a team that's going to be worth looking at. A lot of people are picking the White Sox in the Central. I don't see it yet. They've got a first-year manager. There's always some challenges for a first-year manager doing that, no matter how well people think of Pedro Grifol, who's running things there, minus Abreu, and Andrew Vaughn now full-time at first base, a talented young kid out of Cal. See how they hold up with their pitching, and the unfortunate story with Liam, which is so difficult to listen to, a guy that has lifted up the spirits of so many people from basically worldwide, let alone coast to coast, and now he's in a fight with a non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Wishing him all the best. But that's a big hole to fill for the White Sox at the back end of their rotation. I like what the Twins quietly have done, and we saw last year with a young team, with a team that made contact, with a team that pitched and caught the ball, what the Cleveland Indians were capable of. And I think they're going to be right in the hunt again this year.
And before you know it, the Super Bowl is in your neck of the woods. Glendale.
My house, by the way, is available on VRBO. I've got a 2-story house about 40 miles away from Gilbert. I'll put it up online. You guys can have it for $5,000 a night. How about that? No?
Seriously. I mean, if I up it to 8 and I get you somebody, do I get a little cut on this?
It's a crazy week next week because the golf tournament is always Super Bowl week. But both being in town at the same time, it's going to be as wild as you can imagine. Next week will be a lot of fun. I'll be at the golf tournament next Thursday. I always go on Thursday with Veronica. Always have a great time sitting at 16, drinking Bloody Marys and screaming at golfers. It's my wife's favorite sports experience. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, we're going to Pebble. I'll be at Pebble tomorrow. It's these tournaments are amazing, but the Waste Management, definitely a big party. And then going to be a good Super Bowl. I mean, the Eagles are a terrific roster. We know how explosive the Chiefs are, so it's going to be a good – now, I know a lot of Niner fans up here are not happy, but I got a feeling we're going to have a good one in Arizona.
Well, it's tough here, especially because Brock Purdy played high school ball about 5 miles from my house here locally at Perry High School, one of the rival schools to where my kids went to school. And, what an unbelievable story and just a heartbreaking ending. You don't know if they would have won or not, but you would, if you're a 49er fan, you wanted to be able to at least put your best foot forward and compete with your guys that they had at the end of the year, meaning Purdy, and see what that might have meant for them. So that was unfortunate. For me, if I'm looking at the two teams, I look at the trenches and I like the Eagles right now. I think their offensive line and their defensive line are two really stout parts of their teams. I think that's going to be the difference. So I'm going with the Eagles in the Super Bowl next week.
So you're saying bet the beach house on the Eagles?
Well, I wouldn't go quite that far. And my son used to catch ground balls with Patrick Mahomes when his dad Pat pitched for us with the Texas Rangers way back when they were both about 8 years old. So, but I'm going to pull. I think it's the Eagles are going to be the better team that on Sunday.
All right, enjoy, have fun at the golf tournament. Enjoy the.
When are you coming to spring training?
February 21st.
And how long are you staying?
It's a great question.
We look forward to seeing. We leave the 24th, Vince.
Okay. Well, look forward to seeing you guys down there for sure.
I can't wait. Seriously, it was so nice to be down there and to get out of the rain and to put shorts on and just it was and we found a new spot to broadcast up in that crow's nest there at the spring training site with all the fields around us. So we're really excited about coming down.
Fantastic. We'll get you to the house. We'll have some homemade margaritas and some homemade Mexican food. We'll have a great time.
Beautiful. Be well, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Townie. Anytime.
The great Vince Cotroneo, one of your broadcasters here for the Oakland Athletics. Hear that? We're already got an invite.
I was texting with our good friend Mike Farron earlier, and he said he'll believe it when he sees it when we take him out to dinner on the 21st.
Oh, yeah. First of all, that is so wrong. Like I've never bought that guy drinks. But yes, we will buy him dinner on the 21st. Now we have a dinner at the Cotroneos. Look at that. You still owe me a steak dinner for our bet.
I texted you like last week and said, when do you want to do it? And then I got crickets back.
We got to figure that out. I'm a little busy this week. It's Pebble week for me.
Yeah, it's okay. As you're going to Pebble tomorrow, I'm going to Moraga to watch the 18th ranked St. Mary's Gales play college basketball.
Do you know anybody?
I have a friend that helped me out at St. Mary's get the tickets.
All right. What do we got Friday?
We're going to have Eno. So there's a really good article in MLB.com today from Anthony Castrovins, friend of the program, talking about how the new pitch clock is going to help players off the field because games will be faster, but it's in a sense of getting more sleep. And it's pretty fascinating as someone who doesn't value sleep where other people do. It was interesting to read about how it's going to help players. And one of the guys that's involved is Brandon Geyer, who's a former major leaguer who's big on sleep. And he's mentioned the article numerous times with quotes. So I reached out to him to try to get him on to talk about it. If not, maybe I'll reach out to Anthony and see if he can come on and talk about it. Because it's pretty fascinating how they could help the game going forward, the pitch clock.
Yeah, because I'm really worried. I'm really worried how 20 and 30-year-olds are going to have more time to sleep versus me having more time to sleep. Who do you think I'm worried more about? Late 60s Ken Korak getting more sleep or the kid who's 26 years old?
Ken Korak, most likely.
And are we sure that this 26, 27, 28-year-old is actually, if the game ends earlier, going to be going to sleep?
Also a good question.
Or does that give this 26, 27, 30, 32-year-old time to go do extracurricular activities since the game ends early?
All I know is in the article, Brandon Geyer, the former outfielder for the Rays and Guardians and other teams, mentioned that when he used to go on the road, he tried to get like 10 hours of sleep, and he would bring black tape and like tape off like the red light on the television and like any light that came through. So he had complete like darkness in his room. It's interesting because the NBA prioritizes sleep a lot. And I remember reading about Nelson Cruz and how he takes naps during the day. He's also in his 40s now, so it's a little different. LeBron James values sleep more than most professional athletes. So I found it interesting. I'll send it to you so you can check it out. It's not very long. It was just.
Once again, here's the question. When the game's over and it's well after an hour and I'm still on the air, what are they going to be doing?
Well, showering and getting ready to go home. Maybe.
Oh, no, they're gone.
Yeah.
When I get done with a post-game show and I'm walking out of the Coliseum, their cars are all gone.
Yeah, it also mentions like the time they spent on the field too. So like if the clock speeds up the game, Mike Trout's not standing in center field for 92 and a half minutes or I think it said on his feet for like 92 minutes because the average game was over 3 hours. So it's interesting.
Well, we know what the clock will show, and it'll kind of be a little boo-hoo from me. Just shows you guys it was your fault in the first place. If these games are like the minor league games, and we now see a dramatic change anywhere between 25 to 35 minutes, what's it going to show? It's going to show how slow you guys play. I've said it all along. It's not the game of baseball. It's the players. The game of baseball was always meant, if you look at the old Ken Burns, what's that great documentary called? The baseball, is it called Baseball or what's it?
Isn't it just Ken Burns Baseball?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
Players are running off the field on the field. Everywhere players are running, games are quick, boom, 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 game over, interesting, balls flying all around, great game, a lot of fun. Wasn't 3.5 hours of you guys batting gloves, stepping out, pitcher on the mound, not getting the sign. I mean, it's the players' fault. And literally, we are going to see a clock force them to play at a time that's a good pace. And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to say, I love this. Everybody we talk to, from David Force, our general manager, to anybody who's a scout, to anybody who's a coach, anybody who's played, they said the minor league games are way better. They're much crisper. There's a better pace. They're faster. The game's over faster. Everybody loves it. So we bring this to Major League Baseball and it works. We're all going to be able to go, see, it was the player's fault. It's never the game's fault. I mean, this is why the NBA and the NFL and the NHL all have clocks, because it keeps the game. It keeps the players from ruining the game. The players have been ruining the game, and the umpires didn't have the you-know-what to force them to a better pace. The pace of the game has been awful, and the only people to blame are the actual players themselves.
I don't disagree with you. And the title of the article is "How the Pitch Timer Can Help Players Health." So it talks about risking cutting down on injuries too, and there's stats in there from the minor league. So I'll send it to you. It's interesting.
Oh, hey, you know I've said this for years. I'll gladly get into this. You got players that literally will show up at like noon for a 7:05. We used to have 7:07 games, right? For COVID.
Our first
we had
game,
players, and now we can say it. Steve Vucinich, now retired, would say it's because these guys, they wanted free food. They literally would show up at noon so they got a free lunch. Doesn't matter how much they were making. They want a free lunch. So they show up at noon, 1 o'clock for a 7:07 game. They're not stretching. They're not doing anything. They're not looking video. They show up to eat. So they're there 7 hours before first pitch. It's ridiculous. There's no reason why players should be in the clubhouse and you're not rehabbing 7 hours before first pitch. It's crazy. 6 hours, 5 hours. There's no need. There's nothing, you got to get out of the house because you got a problem. Okay. But for the most part, you being at the Coliseum at noon, 1 o'clock, I mean, what are you doing 5 hours before first pitch? 5 hours. I mean, you work out so hard 5 hours before the game, you're going to be gassed by the time it's game time.
Or you could get hurt.
I mean, seriously. Ray Fosse used to say it all the time. He's like, Townie, I have no idea why they get here so early. We never did that. You show up a couple hours before the game, stretch, get loose, take some hacks. Let's go. What are you doing 7 to 6 hours before first pitch? You want free food. I mean, it's that simple. Dude, when I pull into the parking lot as early as we get there, and because we have a show to do well before the game, and there's players' cars there, it's like, why?
I mean, I get for games that are, when we have a 6:40 game, I get there around like 10:30, and there are some players' cars already in the parking lot.
Makes no sense.
10:30 in the morning, I'm there. That's 8 plus hours. Oh yeah, 8 plus hours before first pitch.
What are you doing? What are you doing? So I'm interested in the article. I will read it, but there's too much of what I know to be like, shorter games means these guys are getting more sleep.
The thing with Brandon Guyer.
You know what? You know who the shorter games will be good for? The young fathers and the young moms. If to be honest, the young guys, you give them more time, it's more time to go out after games. It's the guys who've just had kids and have real little kids. It's quality time for the player and his wife together with the young kids. It's time for mom who's exhausted all day with babies to have dad come home and give her a rest. That if you want to know what shorter games are going to help, it's going to help the players with young families and especially with babies. That's who it's really going to help. It's going to help the player. It's going to help the wife. Because a lot of times they're in this city. It's not where their family is. That's who it's really going to help. Now, of course, we're all baseball dorks, and we're going to sit here and be like, players, and what it will do, and hey, they're sleep and all this kind of stuff. When we know you tell a 26-year-old, hey, 26-year-old, you're out at 9:30. What do you think? What do you think about that, Cody? You're 26 years old. You're out at 9:30.
Oh yeah, well, that was me 8 years ago. So
What
I
do you
know
think's happening?
Yeah, they're probably going out.
Yeah, they're not going sleeping.
And the other thing too, real quick, Brandon Guy, the guy I told you he's mentioned the article, former player, he has his this thing called Major League Mindset that he like helps players get ready for, and it's all on his website. But I think it's more of like looking at, like you always talk about, the psychology, like analyzing the brain, like getting yourself, like, because I know you're into that, like that's something you studied, like that's something we could talk to him about too. Hopefully he gets back to me. I had to, how can I put this delicately? I had to slide into his DMs on Twitter.
Whoa, that seems so creepy.
Oh, well, that's the only way I can get in touch with them. I don't know anyone that would have.
No, I like that. I mean, neuroscience and then the study of the body, biomechanics. That's, you can talk OPS plus and weighted runs created plus and blah, blah, blah. That's really the study of the study of how the human body works at its best. That's what everybody's trying to figure out. It's in all sports, right? They're trying to do that in golf. We're seeing that at Pebble Beach this weekend. That's why every guy behind him, when he's hitting balls, has TrackMan. That's why they have these cameras, and that's why they got TrackMan down in the bullpens for every single pitch. Everybody's trying to figure out how to do what they do as best as they possibly can. And then you take all the physical stuff and you need to marry it with the mental. Because in the end, what did Yogi Berra say?
Oh, the quote about the percentage.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah, look it up. It's great.
See if I can find it.
Oh, it'll come up. Yogi was the best.
Baseball is 90% mental. The other half is physical.
I mean, it's the confidence. I mean, what you have to believe in yourself every day. Every day, you got to come out and you've got to have that belief and that confidence. Say what you want about Barry Bonds. And a lot of it, what you hear is 100% true. Maybe not all 100%, but it's pretty close. But Barry Bonds showed up every day ready to go. Barry Bonds showed up every day saying, I'm the best player here. I'm better than anybody else. Every day. That was his edge. He had an edge. It had nothing to do with him physically. He knew he was gifted physically. What made Barry Bonds is that he showed up every day to kick your ass. And it didn't matter. Barry haggled over money with Pittsburgh and then got his deal with the Giants. The rest of his career, he never really haggled over money. He just always re-signed with the Giants. That's why I wonder about Carlos Correa, something I will get into a little bit later. Everything for Carlos Correa has always been about money. Money, 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 money. You want to shop at Gucci, you want to shop at Dior or whatever the stores he brought up, you got to pay for it.
It was those stores, yes.
Was that those stores?
Yeah,
and
that's Dior for sure.
When he was on TV, it's about money. When he's interviewing, it's about money. Well, now that he's got the money, now your goal's been achieved. What happens to his career? Now he doesn't have to worry about the long-term contract. What happens to his career? How many games played will he have a year? See, that was the thing about Bonds. And you know what? You can say the same thing about Clemens. It wasn't about the money. They took the PEDs to be great. They didn't take it for money. A lot of guys were taking PEDs because they wanted to be good enough to get those crazy contracts. Clemens and Bonds took it to be great and to continue as they got older. They were doing it, and it was awful. It was wrong, but they were doing it for performance because they wanted to be the best. They brought it every day. They were killers. Not everybody's a killer. Not everybody can bring it every day. Not everybody can go through. Not everybody can take failure. We as human beings are afraid of failing. It's just the way we're made up. And it's the way we're conditioned as kids. I mean, think about how we raise our kids now. No one can fail. Everybody's a winner. Everybody did well. Failure is a part of our game. You're going to go 0 for 21. You're going to go 0 for 15. You're going to give up home runs. You're going to give up hits. You're going to fail. How do you deal with the failure? You're a quarterback. You're going to throw interceptions. How do you rebound? You're a shooter in basketball. You're going to miss 8 straight. Do you keep shooting? Klay Thompson, Steph Curry do, because they've got confidence. They're not afraid to fail. Think about a golfer. Tiger Woods went out and had bad rounds, but guess what? He still knew he was the man. So we think so much about these guys as physical, but a lot of their greatness, Tom Brady's greatness, Jerry Rice's greatness, Wayne Gretzky's greatness. Muhammad Ali was not the most physical heavyweight of all time. George Foreman was a monster, was bigger and stronger, but mentally wasn't the same. The mental game is huge in sports. It's huge in life, but we deal in the world of sports. That's what gets untapped. What makes the great ones different than these other guys? What? Their other guys weren't as good as athletes as Bonds? What made Bonds different? There were guys who were bigger, stronger, faster than Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky's my size. Wayne Gretzky's the greatest hockey player of all time. Why? When you got guys bigger, stronger, faster, why was Gretzky better? Everybody, Tiger Woods, guys hit the ball further than Tiger Woods. Guys were straighter than Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods off the tee was never straight. He always joked he played Army golf. Left, right, left. He's all over the joint. He's Tiger Woods. Got great talent. It was mental. The great athlete, Jordan. Jordan's not the biggest, strongest, fastest guy who ever played. There's guys bigger than Jordan, jump higher than Jordan. Jordan was a pretty spectacular athlete, there's no question. But to Jordan, especially when he got older, it was all here. That's where they win the games. That's where their greatness is. That's what's the untapped. That's what we're trying to figure out. Hell, you don't even use a lot of your brain. I mean, that's the next frontier in our sport. And yeah, no, I'm not I don't know enough about it. I wish I knew more. I wish I knew more to better Cody and that hair. I wish I knew more about to better me. But that is the next true frontier in Major League Baseball, is the study of the mind. And really for all of sports, what makes tennis players, what makes golfers, what makes hockey players, what made Larry Bird, what made Magic Johnson, what made these certain guys killers and winners, and, when there were other people who were the same size. That's the thing about Jordan. Finding a guy who's 6'6" and jumps out of the gym, do you really think that's uncommon, Cody? You got 6'6" guys that jump out of the gym in college, let alone the pros. 6'6" is not crazy.
No, and the other guy that's really good at this too, the mental and physical side, is LeBron James. I mean, not only is him and Brady are the first two that come to mind currently. I mean, obviously Jordan and Gretzky, but right now the guys that we should be studying are LeBron James and Tom Brady.
LeBron James could be the one guy that truly is the Adonis-like physical athlete to put the mental with it.
It's unbelievable what he does at his age. What is he, 38 now, I think? And he's
in his size.
Yeah.
You're talking about a man that I remember when I was working with Rick Bucher, they said, man, people said he underplays his weight. He doesn't want you to think he's as big as he is, because people would make such a big deal out of it. The same way we do Aaron Judge, right? We go, wow, look at it. They thought LeBron James was more around 270. A man his size, built, strength, size, speed, weight, height. There hasn't been too many human beings that have walked the earth that have the physicality LeBron James has. And you throw the mental on top of that, it's amazing.
Completely agree. I think him and Brady are Brady's whole thing too. A lot of it's what he does on a daily basis with his food and mental preparation. LeBron, it's everything: sleep, what he eats, what he does before games, and then he goes out and just kicks ass on the basketball court. I mean, at 38 years old, he's still one of the best players in the league, and he's been in the league for 20 years.
But I will say this in defense of my old homies. they didn't play at a time when guys got beat up the way they did in yesteryear. Tom Brady played in an era we protected the quarterback at all times. LeBron James has played in an era where you breathe on a guy, he gets fouled. This is not like the 70s and the 80s that I saw, and who knows? I mean, you know the hits that Johnny Unitas took, or Joe Montana, or those guys when they didn't, or Jim Plunkett, where they didn't protect the quarterback at all. Tom Brady never went through that era of football. Always remember that. So when it's, oh, look how long they've lasted and their diet and sleep, they did not play in the game when it was as physical as it used to be.
Fair enough. I have really nothing to say about it, to be honest.
Well,
I mean,
you can't, because it's just true.
The way it's just like we always talk about the different areas, but it's just the way it is now. Like, athletes they're prioritizing brands and sleep and stuff over, things going on in the quarter on the field. And
they don't take the fit. They don't take the fit. The games aren't as physical as they used to be.
Yeah, you're right about the NBA. I mean, you can't hand check, you can't do anything.
The NFL, you can't even hit quarterbacks. Years ago, you were allowed to dismantle quarterbacks. You were allowed to knock them out and throw them down. You can't do it. The quarterbacks, everybody, and you know what? It's good for the human body, and it's good for these guys long term. I just always want to say, hey, let's remember the guys who played before them, what they went through. You also have to recognize that.
For sure. Like the biggest one now is the sack.
Put this way, Tom Brady plays in the 60s and the 70s. He doesn't play till he's 45.
Probably not. But also now the thing too, when you sack a quarterback, you put too much body weight on him, it's a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, that's not how they handled Otto Graham and Johnny Unitas. Even guys in the 80s of Elway and Marino and Montana, they didn't get that. So Brady is amazing, no doubt. And we've talked about his greatness here, but you always got to remember these eras have really protected these guys in a way that the older guys, you don't have, with the beating Jordan would take against the Pistons, LeBron has never dealt with that. Never.
No, because the rules are different, for sure.
How about baseball? Thrown inside. You can't hit guys. You can't throw inside. You can't do what you used to do. Baseball's changed. The way the hitters are protected. Rightfully so, but yeah, the game has changed.
Hockey's the same way, too. It's more
hockey. They played without helmets.
Yeah, well.
They played without helmets.
Think about it this way. This is before the NHL changed the rules and make it more offensive. Wayne Gretzky still has more assists than the next closest guy has points. It's let that marinate.
All right, so we will be back on Friday. Who do we have?
As of right now, Eno Saris.
Okay, I will give you a report from Pebble Beach. Probably going to see your buddy Aaron Rodgers and his man bun down there, and we'll see all the celebrities down there.
Future Raider.
What?
Future Raider Aaron Rodgers?
Well, it's not going to be Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's true.
Raider legend Aaron Rodgers. I'm buying I'm getting a Raider jersey of Aaron Rodgers.
We'll also we'll get into the 40-40 finally too.
I like that whole thing on the pitching coach. I think we explained that pretty well.
Hitting coach.
I did.
Yeah, you mentioned Emo. Yeah, because Emo's been around forever. But yeah, I think there's more to get into that too. Just about, we can expand on. There's so much. That article is very good. Like you said, I recommend everyone check it out. Cody Stavenhagen, who covers the Detroit Tigers, wrote the article in The Athletic.
All right, on the way out, tickets.
Single game tickets are on sale now for the 2023 season. Secure your seats today for opening weekend against the Angels, the 50th reunion of the 1973 World Series team. That's April 16th against the New York Mets. And unique giveaways like the Hawaiian shirt, the Pit Viper glasses that I was wearing earlier. There's a Marvel bobblehead, t-shirt, hoodie, Tony Kemp poster, and more. There's also great homestands against the Giants, Padres, Yankees, Cubs, and Braves. You can find all the information and get your tickets at athletics.com/tickets.
We want to thank the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame, Josh Rawitch, and Vince Cotroneo, broadcaster for the Oakland Athletics. Thank you for watching A's Cast Live and listening to A's Cast Live. We'll see everybody back here on Friday at 1 o'clock. Be well.
It's that time of the year. Single game tickets are now on sale for the 2023 season. Secure your tickets for some of the biggest matchups.